we can track it through every single transaction because the blockchain is public.
The Bitcoin could just be gone.
Look to like Mount Gox, like that happened so many years ago, and they're still trying to unwind and pay out.
Now with Bitcoin though, it's personal responsibility. So if you lose it, you got to eat it.
They made a whole movie about it. It was something with Larry Flint in the name of the title of the movie.
If you hurt my feelings, is that hate speech? What if you tell me you hate me? Is that hate speech?
Immediately has an objective value judgment.
What's going to happen over a long period of time is all these governments are going to have all the Bitcoin.
One thing that I'm kind of listening for to see, because it affected so many people and the value was so much.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside Bitcoin Spaces with Jason and Andrew.
What's up, Jason?
What's up, Andrew? Today is Thursday, August 13th, 2026. Bitcoin block height 962,325. Bitcoin USD price 63,365 US pieces of paper. Andrew, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Yourself, how you doing?
Doing good, thanks. So Bitcoin's sitting about 63,000. Personally, I'm hoping it goes lower. Where do you think we're going from here?
Yeah, in light of the Coldcard fiasco, exploit, I like to say,
failure.
A lot of people are saying, oh, it's gonna like depress the price, like a lot. Like people lose faith in Bitcoin. It's like, oh my God, and believe me, my heart goes out to those that were directly affected. I mean, some of the most dedicated, hardcore, convicted people are the very people that got hurt the worst, and that's just so terrible. I mean, we could talk about this the red team that's going around and trying to make things better. I've heard about people trying to advise folks on how to document their losses in case there's future claims that can be reset. But we can only look to like Mount Gox, like that happened so many years ago, and they're still trying to unwind and pay out some amount of restitution from that. So it's like it's not just years. It's like, and a lot of people just don't have that kind of time. Anyway,
little different because that's centralized exchange. This is some person that just took it on Bitcoin. So even if they do catch whoever it was, no guarantee that the Bitcoin could just be gone.
Yeah. Now, as we know, Bitcoin just doesn't disappear.
Yep.
Well,
maybe it does actually.
Caveat. Yeah. Okay. So it becomes the knowledge to move it might disappear, and we have to say on the Spaces protocol show that we do here, technically Spaces does make some Bitcoin disappear in terms of burning.
Yeah, locks it up.
Yeah. So okay, but if you discount those things, then yeah, even stolen coins, it's not like it was thrown into the river, right? That you can't get it back. And there was some talk recently about some of the other earlier hacks where people were finally getting the stolen property, back. But yeah, at this point, it's very discouraging. Now, one thing that I'm kind of listening for to see, because it affected so many people and the value was so much, the one thing I'm thinking is is there going to be an outcry for tracking Bitcoin balances like Satoshi's from a law enforcement perspective? Is there going to be an outcry? It's like, wait, Bitcoin, we got to make sure that we can pay restitution to victims of crime, which means we need to if we know that these coins were stolen from these wallets, so they're from a legal perspective, they are designated as having been stolen, which is easy to do. We're doing it now, right? They're doing it now. And we can track it through every single transaction because the blockchain is public. Every single transaction, those things go. It went into a mixer here, came out of a mixer there. It went, whatever, and it goes to this person now. It can go through many parties that are totally unaware that it originated from a theft. I mean, this is like the whole dilemma of like, you see a car for sale in your neighborhood. You're like, that's a great price for that car. I kind of always wanted that car. So you go to the guy. It's like, $1,000 for that car. So here's $1,000 cash. It's like, here's the keys to the car. Here's the, and you drive away. You're like, hey, I got a car for $1,000. It's just the kind I wanted. Blah blah blah. And then you find out later, it's like, oh, that was stolen property. It's like, now it's like, oh, wait a second, but I already paid for it. I didn't know it was, and maybe the guy selling it didn't know. Maybe he bought it from somebody and he had totally no understanding. So it's like kind of that scenario, right? So it goes person to person, maybe unknowingly, but you can still track it. And then finally it gets somewhere where you can say, this is a tainted coin. This UTXO has a trail that leads back to theft. Now it's hit an exchange. Now it's on Coinbase. And now the person's account that lands into, we have an identity and we can go talk to them, right? Or, and I've seen this floated with the IMF, over in the ECB, the Central Bank of Euro, is that they're talking about maintaining like a tainted coin list where you wouldn't be able to exit with those funds through an exchange. They would be blocked. Even, stable coins, they can do this all day long, no matter where. But with Bitcoin, you would have to enforce something like that at the exit, at the on-ramp, off-ramp point. And then, okay, so what do? Isn't that like illegal search and seizure? I mean, it depends on the jurisdiction you're in. It could be really messy, but I wouldn't be surprised if there might be calls for instituting some sort of policy to try to catch the stolen Bitcoin as it attempted to be sold or utilized, converted to other chain. This is what they do. They convert it to other things, whatever. Because the impact is so large, right? It really affected people in big ways. I think if it's just a little one person or just a little, they did something wrong, it's their fault. Yeah. So it really may come to test the long-standing mantra that Bitcoin is for enemies. Because if we want to stand true to that statement, then we would have to say, look, if you hold it, you own it, and doesn't matter where it came from, where it's going, it's not my business. And maybe that's the flip side of that freedom, right? So I don't know. We'll see. I haven't really seen much call for that, but it kind of jumped in my mind. It's like, something like this would be something that the people that don't like Bitcoin could latch onto and kind of use it as a lever against the idea of having sovereign currency.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Now with Bitcoin though, it's personal responsibility. So if you lose it, you got to eat it. If you,
that's what we've been saying.
Yeah, if you get screwed, you gotta eat it. You can't really call authority and try to get them to intervene. But it's probably inevitable that governments or somebody calls for this. I think in the UK even, you have to give a personal address and say, okay, my identity's tied to this specific Bitcoin address or something like that. I could definitely see that coming down, but there's just so many ways with so many other cryptos and mixers and Monero or private coins and things to obfuscate that. I just don't think it's going to work.
Well, I think that case will probably be made if this ever comes to it. But I look at it like, it's like, I don't like this idea of like hate speech.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to have freedom of speech or you're not going to have freedom of speech.
Well, what is hate speech?
Well, exactly. It's somebody has to decide, right? So there's an opinion that has
Right.
to be rendered. And then like, so you're saying if I kill somebody, that's one thing, but if I kill somebody thinking something else, that's another thing.
Yeah.
You know?
If you hurt
It's
my feelings, is that hate speech? What if you tell me
right.
you hate me? Is that hate speech?
Yeah.
Or you can only
So
have to hate me on specific physical characteristics.
right. Which means when we're talking in the context of freedom of speech, if you're a true believer in full freedom of speech and are willing to stand up for the rights of freedom of speech, that means you have to like stand up for the rights of people who say things you don't like at all. You might find morally repugnant. You might find like, blasphemous and from a religious. You might find like it violates every taboo and like you still have to support that person's right to say those things, which
I
a lot of
think,
people don't have a lot of comfort in doing that.
yeah, I think the foot in the door though to stop free speech, and then hate speech was next. But the first thing that came was, emergency situations or people calling fire. Right, that came first. Where in a crowded movie theater, if you call fire, if you cause panic, you can't do that. I don't know what the legal definition for that is, but that was the foot in the door.
Yeah. Do you remember? Was it U.S. versus Larry Flint?
I don't know.
What was the movie? Had I think Woody Harrelson played Larry Flint. It was something versus Larry Flint. You know, I think he was the publisher of Hustler magazine, or I think is what it was.
Okay, yeah, I
And
never heard of it.
yeah, oh yeah, they made a whole movie about it. And it was something with Larry Flint in the name of the title of the movie. But anyway, it's like, he really put it to the test to the Supreme Court. It's like I can publish something. It's my freedom of speech. You might find it disgusting. You might find it objectionable, but that I live in America. I can publish, you know, this thing, and the whole thing, like what's pornography is like, I'll know it when I see it, which again, immediately has an objective value judgment, right? So yeah, it's a slippery slope.
Mhm.
And we have to, I think, as Bitcoiners and people that are, more generally like in support of freedom money and self custody, we have to be ready to defend that when people say, well, yeah, you can have your Bitcoin, but if you ever do something bad with it, or if you have the wrong opinion, then we can seize it from you. It's like, well, wait a second.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
imagine giving up having some sort of central database or registry with the government or whoever, and you give up. Everyone gives a Bitcoin address to the government, and that's the only address you can use. So all your transactions are on that address. That would be pretty
Yeah,
bad.
that would be pretty bad. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it goes the same sort of topic as like, I mean, if we email each other and we PGP encrypt our email so nobody else can see it in the middle, is like, is that protected free speech? It's like, if nobody can eavesdrop on you, it's like, yeah, it's, I mean, you can go back to Edward Snowden and the fact that the government's slurping up every single phone and video conversation and
Yep.
text,
Well, the tools will get easier on both sides. So the tools to restrict and the tools to free ourselves.
Yeah, I have to believe that will continue, and we see evidence of that too. That the freedom tech really, happening and moving forward as well. So
Yeah. So speaking of government, let's talk about the Crypto Clarity Act stalling.
so yeah, I feel bad for Cynthia Lummis, the senator from Wyoming that has put her heart and soul into this act, and she's not running for re-election, so
Really?
she's retiring. Yeah, she's retiring after this session, which I guess, when do they technically stop serving? It's like, it's not the day of the election, is it? It's like, I guess, a few days. I don't know. It's not January. I know for the president, the elections in November, with the inaugurations in January, but I'm not sure if that's the same for the Congress. Anyway, she will, like, they were trying to get it passed. It seems like there was a lot of concessions that the Democrats are putting into the bill. the Republicans seemed to be like wanting to get it passed at any cost. They were kind of willing to like allow a lot of different amendments to enter into it. They got big all upset about the fact that Trump and his family had profited from crypto activities in the last couple of years, and that was recently disclosed. So like, whoa, wait a second, we got to throw all these ethics amendments in here to make sure that no president or family or Congress or family or judicial or family can engage in this activity. That's got to all be in there. There was a big kerfuffle about between the banks and the exchanges saying like, well, wait a second, will stable coins be able to gain interest if they're just in an account? The banks are worried that if the companies that custody crypto for people were offering them interest on their holdings and it was better than what the banks would give it, people would be like, well, shit, I'll just take all my money out of the bank and I'll put it over here in this crypto thing. It's better.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you look back, it's like from the beginning of the Obama administration when they drove interest rates to near zero, like your savings account, your checking account's like 0.002% interest. Like you look at your bank account at the end of the year, your IRS like disclosure, and says, oh, you got to like put in a thing for 23 cents of interest from your bank account. It's like, when it used to be you could put money in a bank account, you'd actually make some interest. Yep. Back in, well, I remember back in 1981, I got a 6-month CD certificate of deposit for like, I want to say it's like 14.5% interest.
Dang.
And my mom had gotten one like the week before for 16% interest. But that was when they had pushed the rate up to over nearly 20%.
Okay.
This was in, I want to say the Volcker years. Anyway, I don't know. It's looking back. I just remember like thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. But, I was a kid. So it was like, it's like, man, what if I need that money? I might need that money, before then. It's like, anyway, but yeah, we haven't seen, they kept the rate at zero or near zero all through 8 years of Obama. And then really through Bush and after, they didn't really move it up much. So like, we've like, the whole idea of like actually getting a decent amount of interest on your holdings is like pretty foreign to most people now. So yeah, I guess they have a good point. So that was part of it. So then you're like, okay, maybe we can get a vote scheduled before we go on recess. They have this August recess that they have to because Washington is too hot and all the Congress people are uncomfortable sitting there in chambers and they have to wait for the summer heat to break and go away and come back when it's, so that whole thing, like, but they got air conditioning now. It's like, what's, why do they have to, they're so used to their August break. They just have to have it. So anyway,
so what does this Crypto Clarity Act even do for Bitcoin? Does it just allow some sort of guidelines and framework for people, companies, businesses that want to invest in Bitcoin?
Well, I think some of the main points of it are like a true, clear definition of what's a commodity, what's a security, which agency is going to have complete jurisdiction over how it's regulated, like the CFTC versus the FTC. Who's considered a money changer, which requires licensing, who's not. Are developers included in, if you write software that allows people to move money, does that make you a money changer? Do I have to get the same license as a Western Union just because I wrote a piece of software? That was part of it. There was an amendment right at the end, the last version that got voted on, that actually reintroduced that, which was good, I think. But yeah, how all this, like, what's being allowed to do. There was a concession about, the whole interest thing. It's like, well, money and movement could be given an award. And the banks were like, well, that's really interest. So it was all this back and forth. So from what I understand now, they've scheduled a vote for when everybody comes back from recess. But the problem is this, like, it's in September. So the you got like half of September and then all of October. That's like full on campaign season. Like all the people who are up for reelection are they're not going to want to think about anything else than getting reelected. So really, you got kind of a lame duck Congress. It's like nothing's going to happen, or very little is going to happen, or if anything happens, it'll just be trudging along, because most of these people are like all worried about like either campaigning for reelection or helping their buddies get reelected or whatever it is. They're not going to, you know, it's like the last day of school. Like, you know, you're not listening to the teacher, you're watching the clock to see when you get out.
So do you think they're even going to have a vote when they come back?
They haven't scheduled. I wouldn't be surprised if they kick it around more and somehow don't get it done. So here's my thought. So like the banking committee and Elizabeth Warren and her types are so worried that if the bill doesn't have all these ethics provisions in there, then the likes of Trump's going to keep on making money and leveraging the power of his office, and all his family are going to basically, you know, be able to profit off this. And so they want to shove, while they have control, while they have a say, they want to shove all these provisions in there. What I think, and Trump has been kind of like, yeah, well, it's not really my thing. It's really my kids' thing. And it's like kind of unfair to like penalize them, you know, but okay, I'll go along with it. And he seemed like not really be pushing back at all on this. And I started thinking, it's like, why is it? Why is he like that? Why are they trying so hard to like penalize Trump, other than the fact that they just despise him? You know, why are they just trying so hard to penalize? And why is he kind of letting it? And I think it's this. There's another thing that's come up. So there was someone else, I can't remember who it is, that introduced a similar bill into Congress that said basically Congress people, well, and maybe the president, other people, cannot place stock purchases based on any inside information. You know, a lot of these Congress people sit on committees that form the rulings and regulation around various industries. So the fact that you're sitting on one of these committees, like maybe it's for the mining industry, and when you know that you're going to slap a big new regulation on them, then you could go out in the market and like short their stock or something and make money. This is the whole reason behind why Nancy Pelosi and people like her have like profited. You go into Congress, you've been working in Congress your whole life for what, $140,000 a year, and yet you're a decamillionaire. Like, how does that work? So this other bill, which is very similar in character to the Stable Act, with these extra ethics provisions built into them at the moment. And I'm thinking like, well, if they let that go in and become law, then why can't they have this other thing come in and be law, which is what Trump really wants? It's like, okay, they want to close the loophole of Congress people being able to like profit from their inside knowledge around the industries that they associate with. And that, so he's willing to like kind of concede in order to make a precedent such that stronger regulation comes in the next session, and they can say, well, you said we couldn't profit from crypto, you know, what about the stock market? You know, same thing. It's like everybody can see that. So maybe it's to kind of set the stage for getting more ethical sort of restrictions on what Congress can do, because right now they're not barred from trading in the market in any way. So it's like, and how many people do you think are going to want to go to Congress if they know that they can't, as a senator or congressperson, if they think that they can't profit from it? Oh, I got to go buddy up with these political action committee, and then I got to go, you know, get some kickback from some special interest group that's, you know, wants to influence, you know, the pharmaceutical thing or whatever. It's like, if you could go, it's like, you know, you're going to go to Congress and you're only going to get paid a congressman's wage for the work you do. It's like, well, I'll go do that for a while because out of the goodness of my heart, but I'm not going to do it forever, kind of thing. It might kind of change the nature of how our lawmakers kind of function.
I don't think you
We'll
could
see.
ever stop it. Even if they put those rules in place, people are they still have
Well,
the inside information.
yeah, yeah, and you can pass it to a person that's outside of the definition of your family or whatever, and then still, yeah, there's all sorts of problems with it. But I was like, I think the thought is that the next Congress might be, if it comes back the midterms, that the Republicans win majorities in both houses, then they could pretty much roll through whatever legislation. So you could see a lot of legislation passed in 2 years, whereas it's just they seem to be just dicking around with it these days. So we'll see. Again, that presumes a secure election, that the tide turns significantly in one direction, and those are still unknowns. But it might be just something that they're gambling on. It's like, look, if we could get, then we could do a stable act that's a lot better than the one that's kind of laden with all these different things next time around, because it'll just get tabled and reintroduced next session.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That's interesting. All right.
Tinfoil hat off.
Yeah. All right, moving on now. Next up, we got Thailand implemented a 0% capital gains tax on Bitcoin. So people in Thailand, I think it's a 5-year till December 2029. They don't have to pay any capital gains on Bitcoin.
So it's just a time gated thing. Just from anything you buy now and sell, you don't have to do the capital gains up until that date, the end date.
Yep.
5 years from now, which is interesting. Like Germany has something similar, but it's like you have to hold the Bitcoin for 5 years before it becomes exempt from capital gains. But that thing is like based on the date at which you acquire that big. So you might have acquired Bitcoin last year, 5 years ago, and that you can start spending now without capital gains. But if you spent the stuff you acquired a year ago, then you would have to pay capital gains. So it's like, it kind of is a rolling thing. But I've also heard that Germany is now trying to back out of that agreement, that they're thinking about changing the law back such that isn't the case anymore. So, these things come and they can be taken away too. It's the government, right? But it's encouraging for Thailand because, if it has an immediate effect, because that would spur, usage as I would say currency, usage for more monetary daily use. And it would be a good example of what such a ruling could and tax consequence change might do for a government. So I think for a society, I think it's more it's an interesting thing. Now, you could say, well, we had that in El Salvador, and people aren't using Bitcoin for everything down there now, because I've heard more recent reports that it was back and forth. That he declared it legal tender, so it was not subject to gains. It could be used as money, but the adoption, while some areas had great adoption, by and large, there hasn't been the biggest adoption. In that, then the IMF came in with another loan, which said, hey, you need to not make it required to take Bitcoin. It's got to be optional. So it's up to debate whether or not Bukele sort of cave to the IMF, or if he kind of is faking them, or who knows. So yeah, it's I think as an example of what can happen, was set in El Salvador, and we're seeing another spin of it. I'm very curious to see how South Korea, how things change for them, or if it doesn't. But any motion like this, we saw Russia a couple weeks ago open up the use of crypto and national trade settlement. These governments are making crypto, Bitcoin, part of their fabric of their systems. And in my mind, any place that you can do that is going to make it harder and harder to keep the influence of Bitcoin out of broader monetary instruments, right? Whether they be ETFs, hedge funds, retirement accounts, pension funds. If the more Bitcoin that gets in there, the harder it is to it basically crowds out the fiat influence, so it might only be 10%, but better than zero.
Yeah, I think in the short term, it's going to be good for the people of Thailand, the users, and it's going to seem really good for them as well. But on the flip side, I think a lot of these governments, as they continually make these good rules and laws towards Bitcoin, what's going to happen over a long period of time is all these governments are going to have all the Bitcoin. Because all the people are going to spend the Bitcoin, zero capital gains, spend your Bitcoin, give it to the government, get the fiat currency that they create for free, and then after a few years, the governments are going to have all the Bitcoin. The population, the users, the people are going to be stuck with fiat currencies. So this might be the ultimate rug pull here, a long, slow bleeding out where you're spending your Bitcoin, giving it away because there's no capital gains, and you're left holding the fiat bag.
Possible. I know I said South Korea. I meant to say Thailand. Sorry, earlier. But we'll see. So much of the challenge of Bitcoin is just bring awareness broadly to what it is, that it exists, that it's not just some fly-by-night thing. A lot of folks just they hear crypto or Bitcoin crypto, they think it's all the same thing. So anything that can kind of drive awareness to the true message of what it is, I think is a good thing, even if it doesn't last, even if they reverse it, in the future, even like in El Salvador where they somewhat caved to the IMF, that I think could even be debated. I mean, there was other efforts that were supposed to come online. There was the island nation of Tonga was supposed to declare it as a spendable currency. There was the Central African Republic was supposed to have passed legal tender laws. Those didn't happen. So, maybe somebody whispered in the monetary ministry person's ear and said, it's not a good idea. I don't know. We haven't really heard anything there's been other efforts, but it's all, I like anything that happens that's new, that's kind of challenges the status quo. I'm encouraged by it. So.
Right. All right. Next up, we have Nepal. So the country Nepal makes national ID cards a mandatory requirement for anyone conducting transactions using the country's national digital payment system. So this is where Spaces Protocol can come in and help people with Bitcoin. Digital IDs versus digital IDs, centralized digital IDs. And now we have Nepal rolling out their national ID cards.
So yeah, I think the point you made just there is a critical one, right? It's okay, digital ID, but where does it come from? Who is the issuer? And this holds true for Bitcoin and anything, either crypto tokens or identification, digital ID, CBDCs, all this stuff. It's the question people should always have in their mind up front is who is the issuer? And if the issuer is a centralized entity, then do they have the ability to revoke that issuance, right? We see this with CBDCs. The issuer is the national government, the central bank of that country. We see this with national IDs. The government is the issuer. That means when they can give it, they can take it away, right? And a lot of the altcoins, Ethereum, other things, the issuer, often there was a large issuance that was done to kind of compensate the investors or the founders or whatever it is, and everybody else has to pay for it. It's well, how fair is that? It's and can the issuance be continued, right? Can you continue to issue it without getting or having to get permission from anybody? and this is kind of the main thing that that Bitcoin stands apart. It's like, for one, the issuer is the system, and it's programmatic. It's not that it doesn't happen. It's just that it's not controlled by a central entity. There's no, we talk kiddingly, it's like there's no president of Bitcoin. There's no Bitcoin corporation. There's no place you can go and like pressure some leader to say or do something. It doesn't exist. And also, that happens for ID. So while it's not very well understood, you can generate your own ID, your own cryptographic secret that you used for your own ID, and then tell other people, like, look, this is how I agree to be identified. Now, problem with that is that there just hasn't been a lot of support out in the world for interacting with scenarios like that. But the more centralized entities try to push a centralized national sort of issued ID towards down our throats, the more, and I hope this to be the case, the more people should like say, wait a second, I don't want that. I want a different kind of system where I'm in control. I don't want you to know everything about me. I want to only tell you what's necessary for us to transact business. Like if I go to a bar, they don't have to know where I live. They just have to know I'm, drinking age. So that's all they have to know, right? Am I drinking age, and can I pay my bill? It's all.
But the license that you provide does have your address on it. And now
Sure.
they have these barcodes on the back that they scan now. And I don't know what information they retrieve there, but that could be entering your name, address, driver's license number, height, weight, birth date. So they do have a lot of information now. I just think when it goes digital and when you tie money to it, that's when it becomes a massive problem.
That's right. And we've talked about this in the past too. It's like if you've got something digital, even if you do create it yourself, but then you deposit money from other people, say people give you money or you earn money in some way that's attached to that, that's public record. That's like everybody seeing into your bank account. It's like, oh, see where he works from, see who pays him, see how much money he's got. Oh, I used to say, it's like, when you pay the babysitter, at the end of your night out, it's like you give them $20, $40 cash. You don't give them like
a check,
something that allows you to see how much money you have.
Oh yeah, like, even worse.
Or how much money you might earn in the future. Then babysitter would be like, oh, you're rich, give me $100. It's like, hey, how do you know that? Oh, because you can see everything I have. Just the fact that
Well, isn't that one of the knocks on Bitcoin, though? That's why UTXO management is so important, but that's one of the knocks on Bitcoin, that everything's transparent.
Well, it is, and which brings it back to individual responsibility. You need to be educated and understand your responsibility to manage these things a lot more concisely yourself, which includes things like never reusing the same address, giving out, or every time you receive something, providing a new address to go, such that people can't like get a broader view. So it's something people aren't used to. People are used to like trusting that the bank has their money. Well, the bank doesn't have your money, but people have this idea that it does. And like, every time I go to the bank in my whole life, I've lived 40 years, whatever, every day I've gone to the bank and wanted my money out, they've given it to me. Every time I deposit it, they happily take it, and it just works. It's like, that's people's experience. So, and they even see that thing on the door when they walk in, FDIC insured up to $150,000 per account. You're like, oh, I'm good. I don't have nearly 150,000. I'm good to go.
I think it's like 250. Is it 250?
Or 250 or whatever it is. Yeah. So, oh, and if I ever get close to 250, I'll just open up another account in a different bank and I'm good. But, so it's like, but that's as far as it goes with most people's experience. And then they wonder why groceries cost so much. Like, how come like a steak costs twice what it did the other day, last year? It's like, well, do you really want to know? Because let's sit down and we'll talk about it. That, it's part of our job as, people in the community to educate. But again, just to kind of tie it back to ID, I think this is a great opportunity for spaces to like build something that can replace things like this Nepal system. Um, but it's up to us to like build it, see the vision, understand what it takes to put the pieces together to make it an effective and operational system. You may have to sell it to your government. It's like, but still, even just this, like, hey, we got this system. Everybody like creates your own IDs. You do this so that you can get your stuff done, and that's it. And we want this to be voted into law. So like, the legislator's gonna be like, so you want me to like approve of a system where I don't have control over it anymore? It's like, yeah, because we put you in office to do the stuff we want to do.
Yeah.
Now do it.
I think one of the important things talking about all this Spaces protocol, centralized digital IDs, brings me back to something that we talked about on this show multiple times, and that's silent payments. How important do you think silent payments are for Spaces protocol success?
Well, I think Spaces can be successful without it, because I can imagine a lot of other ways to use the protocol to like look up websites or just identify yourself in other contexts, like the way you do with Nostr, or maybe tie it to other decentralized ID schemes and things like that. You can technically send money to the identity that the Spaces name and or subname kind of represents. But again, that's a dangerous mode. I would like to see silent payments. And for those that don't know, silent payments allows the sender and the receiver to like go through a little bit of negotiation to figure out how to get a unique address from a known one, such that the receiver's only receiving funds to a different address every time, while the sender doesn't have to know anything new about the receiver. And it's being implemented in certain wallets. I think Cake Wallet and Sparrow Wallet and a few others. I think it's kind of up to the wallet vendors to figure it out. But I think it's a natural, prudent sort of improvement to the system and the way we deal with it right now. It's not a Spaces specific thing, but I think it should be part of like our best practice for sure going forward.
Yeah, it seems like it goes really well. Silent payments and Spaces protocol go really well together. So right now we're kind of at the fringe end of it, where it's just starting out. Spaces protocol, people are into the technology, learning about it. Oh, this is cool, this is cool. But like you said about the bank, the majority of people, they go to the bank and everything works. So we might have to face a situation where for all these things to get adopted, Bitcoin included, those current systems have to fail.
Yeah. Unfortunately, people only change when they feel pain. I mean, it's kind of the rule, one of the rules of just society and humanity. It's like people are comfortable in their ways that they're used to, and it takes a lot to like throw them off that comfort zone. Sometimes it takes a big war. Sometimes it takes like a stock market crash. I mean, 29, if you look at study history in the run up to 29, people would talk stories like, oh, like the guy that was shining my shoes was like giving me stock tips.
Yeah.
It's like, that was kind of a common thing. It's like people were like getting second mortgages to go buy stocks. And when the market went down, crashed in 29, people got wrecked. And it didn't go down to the bottom. I think the final total is like a little more than 80% drop in the stock market, but it didn't go like from the top to 20% in one shot. It like went down, scared everybody, came up a bit. Oh, it's over. It went down again, scared everybody, went up again. Oh, it's really over now. I mean, and then went down again, at the end of the day. Yeah. So I just lost power there for a second. Hopefully we're still with you.
Yep, you're here.
All right, cool.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. But that is how people get rich with the loans. They take out debt They buy assets. It's just the timing thing, right? So Bitcoin's down like 50% now. Maybe now's the time to take out the loan, but you never know. I remember Bitcoin, it stays crab walking for a while and then boom, it either goes up or the bottom falls out of it. So you never know.
Yeah, and we talk about the crack up boom. If you study Mises philosophy, that this is how it's supposed to work. It's like the last gasp of the fiat currency is a big run up in the market, and because everything's getting more and more expensive and like people are profiting in the market, they think, oh, it's all going up, it's getting great. Well, the value of your dollars is getting further and further eroded. So it's kind of a false sense of like euphoria. And if you study things like Weimar Germany and how things worked out there, it's like it wasn't until they finally said, well, they tried a couple different creating new money, ran into the same problem, finally said, okay, that's not working the second time. We have to create something that's like tied to land. It was only when they did that, then things started stabilizing. So, read your monetary history. There's a lot to go. If you're only going to read one thing, I'd say read The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Yeah.
That's probably
about halfway through that book.
Yeah. So like, were you surprised to find out how much kind of tomfoolery was going on in the banking system in the lead up to that?
Not really, but the book goes into so much detail. It's like, I get it. I understand the point. It's like, it talks about all the guys, the bankers getting on the train and doing all these things. Like, okay. And then he gives me another example of them doing stuff, and then another, and then another, and then another. It's like, all right, I don't need 10 examples. I understand. So it's kind of, I started reading, and even he recommends in the beginning of the book, G. Edward Griffin, to read the book, like read the summary of each chapter first, then you can go through and read the details. So that's what I started doing, just reading the summaries.
Yeah, that's a good book. Don't read it and try to go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, that's what I do though. I read it right before bed. So yeah, it is tough.
Keep you up at night. Yeah, exactly.
All right, next up, we have Jack Mallers recently stepped down as CEO from 21, which is a Bitcoin Treasury company, and now he says he's focusing solely on his other company, Strike. So do you think this is a sign that people are waking up to the fact that Bitcoin is the real asset to hold and not the stock of some company that holds Bitcoin?
I think you might see it as a signal for that. I listened to his interview with Coin Stories, Natalie Brunell, and he was very open and honest. He kind of comes across that way anyway, and he was pretty candid about that. I think that it was kind of put together at a time when Treasury reserve companies were kind of the hot thing, and he saw an opportunity to kind of get involved at the board level, but unfortunately, because of the public the nature of the public company, he couldn't really talk about it. He didn't have like a say. He didn't have like a full say on. It was just a voice, right, on the board. So he couldn't really direct the nature of things, but yet he was kind of expected to kind of be the brand ambassador for the effort 21. And he says that it's kind of didn't fit his personality, that he didn't like it. And he had agreed to do that with provision that, after a certain number of years that he was involved with it, that he would be able to get released from his obligations. And, the market went down. It's like, I know people that are currently like doing things like putting together conferences for Treasury Reserve companies. Like, it's the market's down because like, these companies that got in thinking they were like riding the hype are now having to deal with the market realities, and some of them are folding, and it's just not the darling vehicle that it once was seen as. It's like seemed like, oh, this is like printing money. You just like create this company, buy Bitcoin, hold on to it, you're good. And I think Jack saw the kind of the writing for what it was, and so when he had an opportunity, he went back to doing his prior thing, which was strike. And and according to him, that's where his passion and his energy wanted to be. He runs the show. He's the builder. He likes building. He wants to make stuff for Bitcoiners, for true Bitcoiners. This is all things he says, and I I tend to believe him at his word. So it's like it sounds like he made the best decision for him. I can see how a lot of people thought it was kind of selling out. I think seems like he had to disclose he got a big payout to like leave. So everybody's like, what the hell's that all about? Is that disingenuous? I don't know. I think that's his own private business. But people are going to think that. So I don't know. I think if everything he says is true, then then maybe he's going to keep making Strike a good, better and better company for the long haul. That's so I guess I'm pretty on board with what his explanation was. I mean, there's probably other things that went on that will never see the light of day, but we'll just never know.
What even is the attractiveness of buying these companies? I understand for the companies, they buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin goes up, and they just keep increasing their balance sheet, they keep increasing their wealth. That makes a ton of sense. And I still think that thesis is accurate. It's going to go up and down along the way. If you ever see that meme, it's like what hodling Bitcoin everyone thinks it's like sunshine and roses. What it's actually like, it's like fire pits and all these downfalls. So I can see that why the companies would want to do it, but the users, why would the users want to buy the company stock and not just go directly to the asset that the company's holding themselves?
Well, so the customer for this stuff is not you and me, right? It's not individuals that can make our own decision, that aren't bound by, well, even we're bound by certain rules. Like you can't, I don't think even technically, well, a company sponsored IRA account, you can't go and just like buy Bitcoin with it and hold it in your own custody. Now that's changing. I know that Trump's talked about putting in rules that would allow balances to be, that are in the 401k tax deferred status to be, used, but that doesn't exist yet. So, but if you're a company, you're governed by a board. And if the investment decisions you make have to be cleared by the board, the company itself is like formed under a charter. So there's rules about what you can and can't do that's built into just the definition of what your company is. So whether you're a company or, you're a pension fund or whatever, the same thing exists, right? So there's basically these institutional class of investors that either because they think it's too risky or their board won't allow it or whatever, they're just not allowed to buy Bitcoin directly, but they can buy other companies, or they can buy a stock market index, or they can buy an ETF, which is another, traded product. That mechanism has existed for hundreds of years. So companies have built into their normal standard operating procedure the capability to do that. So when a company wants to take some of their investment and move it into something tied to Bitcoin, while they can't do it directly, they can buy these other things. So that means like if there's not enough people providing those other things, then there's an incentive for companies to spring up to provide just that kind of thing. So initially we saw Strategy, doing their thing, and they've gone on to make all these other derivative products as well. But then we saw Microplanet in Japan start doing the same sort of thing. They were like a hotel management company failing. They were like, from what I understand, their business really doesn't exist so much. They saw that as a way, because other companies could buy shares of their company, get direct exposure to Bitcoin, but they don't have to hold it. They don't have to go through all that custodying headache. These institutions, they move slow. They don't take risks, and they're not they're the low, slow moving, like broad adoption sort of folks. So they just haven't been able to do it. I mean, even now, I think they said, was it Schwab had opened up some amount of investment in Bitcoin related things, but they still hadn't educated their advisors on how to sell it and what it was. And yeah, it just takes time. It takes time, you know. So we shouldn't be surprised that these things kind of come up to kind of fill the gaps when there's an opportunity. You know, if there's a way to make money, somebody will jump in and figure it out. But now maybe that mode is just not as profitable anymore. So you know, the market should contract, so companies should go away.
Yeah, I agree with that. We have another Treasury company that's shutting down its doors, Satsuma, which hired Mark Moss as chief Bitcoin strategist. They voted to sell all their Bitcoin, which is 668 Bitcoin, and they're going to shut down the company. After, of course, their stock is down 90% from its peak.
Yeah, so this is like this difference between Strike and Satsuma. It's like one's a privately held company with one guy in charge that has a vision and a belief system. The other one is like a company that was formed just as an investment vehicle publicly, and you know, every one of the stockholders has a vote. So even if you're the leadership, you don't have control of your ship completely. Even if like Mark Moss, and I met him, I mean, he's a great guy and he's a believer, but he can't control everything. And when the majority of the shareholders see their investment dwindling, and they're like, we need to like cut bait and like get out to like, you know, get something out, because they don't have the same conviction. They're just, you know, they want to retain as much of their value as possible before it goes to nothing, and they outvote everybody. Then, yeah, all they have to do is put a proposal forth, vote on it. If it's agreed, then that's what the company has to do, and they will effectively unwind the company.
Let his hands. So is that the difference between a public and a private company? Private company could just be me or you. We have a company. A public company can't just be me, you and I. It has to. It involves a board of people once you go public.
Well, even private companies have boards, but it's like who holds the majority of the voting shares, right? In a private company, it's all held by the inside people that comprise the company. It's not offered to the public, so the public can't generally invest. You can't go to your brokerage account and buy a share of a private company, and you know. But when you go public, when you convert to that public, then they say, okay, now what's the shares up to that point are like whatever we say they are, you know, whatever we think they might be. Maybe it's the net revenue of the company divided by the number of shares or something like that, you know. But when you go public, you say, well, this is what the public thinks the company should be worth, and that's what the price becomes. So a lot of times, if it's something that's a darling sort of company, then you know, SpaceX as an example, it's like, oh my God, SpaceX, you know, Elon Musk, rockets, we've seen them land backwards. I mean, how awesome is that? It's like it's got to be worth blah blah blah, and then they make up a price, and then when it goes public, see if it goes up and down. The market then finds the level set. But at the end of the day, you know, whoever has the majority of the shares, and it could be, you know, the public has the majority of the shares, and then they vote a certain way, then they get what they want. So yeah, and there's different classes of shares. Not everyone gets a vote, but yeah, that's kind of generally how it works. And so sometimes it's like, you know, you just want to get out, and a lot of people that buy these things like don't understand or don't believe that it'll ever go up again. They're like, it's a scam, it's an Enron, it's just going to zero, I might as well get out while I can.
They're just trying to make a quick buck. But it seems to me, it seems like all these companies, all these people, they're extractors. They just want to extract. So they're like, hey, let's buy this Bitcoin. It's going to go up in USD value. We'll sell some fake company stock that we just created, and we'll gather the cash from those plebs, the people that buy this stock, those suckers, and then we're just all going to get rich.
As long as there's somebody else to buy what you bought at a lower price, so you can sell it with the upside. As long as there's more, I mean, that's the definition of a Ponzi scheme, right? So you've got new people coming in buying what the old people already bought and sold, sell it at a higher price. That's, as long as you can keep that going, it seems to work. But at some point it doesn't, and then it all unwinds pretty crazily. So,
and some people think and say that Bitcoin is like that, the greater fool theory, where Bitcoin is only worth what someone else is willing to buy, or you're only looking to buy it and sell it, which is true in this fiat world somewhat. But Bitcoin has all these properties where self-custody, digital thing, it's a digital network, a thing on a digital network that you can self-custody yourself and send it to anyone permissionlessly without a middleman. So it has these properties that make it valuable, even though the whole world isn't using it as such. Right now, a lot of people are just buying it and then selling it for more fiat. But the underlying value is there in Bitcoin. It's just taken us, I don't want to say forever, but it's taken a long time, it seems, when you're living in the moment.
Yeah, it's, in my mind, it's moving Bitcoin into the denominator. Like when you start thinking of Bitcoin as the base unit of how you price things, how you think of things, and it becomes that sort of thing that underpins other things, you can kind of say, well, gold kind of acts like that, maybe silver, US dollar, property, farmland, diamonds, things like that. Well, to different extents, right? But still, it's like when you can like mentally sort of say, oh, I should be valuing things in relation to this other thing, then you start getting the mental shift, right? And especially when that thing can't grow beyond 21 million, like that means that everything else will get more expensive in terms of that thing, right? So this is the theoretical future that we all aspire to, and we just have to remember we're on the bumpy road to that. And as long as governments, like we cited a few instances of here today, so as long as governments are kind of buying into it, and even in little ways, like it's going to be hard to undo and like just get rid of it, unless all governments decided simultaneously to like ban, even if they did ban Bitcoin for all purposes, all usage. You can't have anything, no exchanges, no way to get, there'll still probably be a black market for it.
Yeah, that would make Bitcoin very valuable. I think eventually everyone's going to realize that they want Bitcoin. It's just most people don't understand it yet.
Yeah, and which means that us that are in the community and around things like spaces, which is kind of, building on top of it to a large extent. I see it that way. It's like part of our job is to educate people why you would even want to. So, maybe in the spaces terminology, you say things like, well, wouldn't you want a website that nobody could shut down? Like, do you have something that you want to say that you believe in so ardently and so, passionately, that you put your life effort into something that you want to put some information for the world to have, and yet it's controversial enough that some government might say, we don't like the fact that they're saying that, we want to take it down, get rid of it, make the DNS not work anymore, to call up their ISP, turn off their internet connection, whatever it is that they would do to like throw it. What if you had a system where they could try to do all those things and it still wouldn't work? People would still be able to get to it. It's like, that's pretty powerful. So I think we start with simple sort of things that people can relate to, and then build up from that. Well, if that works, then what about saying, no, I don't want your government issued ID. I want my own ID that you don't control, because you guys as government has proven that you can't keep the stuff secure. Like, you're always having breaches. Like, how do I know that all my information, why should I trust you anymore to give you my information? You're just going to like get hacked, especially with AI coming on. Everything's getting hacked faster and faster. Why should I even give you anything that you could use in any other way? I can't trust you anymore, bro. I can't trust you. It's like, I'm going to just create a new set of identity that I control how it's disseminated. I control how it's used. And maybe
Well
that
said.
catches on. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Well said. Well said. All right. Well, Andrew, that was a great show. Anything else you want to cover today?
no, not today. I wish you guys have a great weekend, and we will catch you next week.